I simply closed my laptop and stood up from the couch. Hit subscribe if you've ever had to watch your own children reveal exactly what they thought you were worth. The morning my wife Catherine died, I didn't mention the $75 million sitting in various investment accounts. I didn't mention the tech company I'd sold 15 years ago. I didn't mention the 12 apartment buildings scattered across Silicon Valley that generated $200,000 in rental income every month. And I certainly didn't mention that my 3 stepchildren had been my tenants for the past decade without knowing it. I just sat there in the hospital room, holding Catherine's hand as it grew cold, and said nothing. The funeral was on a Thursday. I wore the same gray suit I'd worn to our wedding 20 years ago. Catherine had loved that suit, said it made me look distinguished despite the fact that I'd bought it at a Macy's clearance sale. She was the only one who knew why I shopped at Macy's clearance sales when I could have bought the entire store if I wanted to. "Keep it quiet, Robert," she'd said when we first got together. "Let them get to know you for you, not for what you built." So I did. I worked my consulting job from home, which was really just managing my investment portfolio. I drove a 10-year-old Honda Civic. I clipped coupons. I wore the same 5 polo shirts on rotation. To my stepchildren Michael, Jennifer, and Thomas, I was just boring old Robert who married their mother, the guy who showed up to family dinners and mostly listened, the man who offered to help with rent when they were struggling, which they always declined with barely concealed pity. "We're fine, Robert," Michael would say, that condescending edge in his voice. "We don't need handouts." What he didn't know was that the handout had been happening for years. I owned their buildings. I'd bought them specifically because that's where my stepchildren lived, and I'd instructed my property management company to keep the rent 30% below market rate. Anonymous landlord, they were told. Very private. Never contact the tenants directly. The will reading was scheduled for the day after the funeral. Catherine's lawyer, David Martinez, had been my lawyer first. He'd helped me structure everything exactly the way Catherine and I had planned. We gathered in his office on Friday afternoon. Michael showed up in a tailored suit, already looking like he was mentally spending his inheritance. Jennifer brought her husband, Mark, who kept checking his Rolex. Thomas, the youngest at 32, at least had the decency to look somber. "Thank you all for coming," David began. He looked at me with something like sympathy. "Catherine's will is straightforward. To her children, Michael, Jennifer, and Thomas, she leaves her personal jewelry, her art collection, and a sum of $50,000 each to be divided equally." I watched their faces change. $50,000. Catherine's jewelry was nice, but nothing spectacular. The art collection was mostly prints she'd bought at local galleries. "And the house?" Michael leaned forward. "The investments?" David glanced at me, then back at the siblings. "As for investments, Catherine's personal accounts total approximately $173,000, which will be distributed according to the terms of the will." Jennifer's face went red. "That's impossible." "Your mother lived very well," David agreed carefully, "but perhaps not on her own resources." The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut glass. "Robert," Michael turned to me, his voice tight, "you must have some life insurance from Mom, some joint accounts." "Catherine and I had separate finances," I said quietly. "That was her preference." "So you're saying," Jennifer's voice climbed higher, "that our mother left us basically nothing? After 20 years of you living in her house, eating her food, enjoying her lifestyle?" I could have corrected her. I could have mentioned that I'd paid for that house in cash 3 months after Catherine and I got married, putting it in her name only because she insisted it made her feel secure. I could have mentioned the lifestyle she referenced was funded entirely by my investment income. I could have mentioned a lot of things. Instead, I said, "I'm sorry you're disappointed." "Disappointed?" Michael stood up. "This is insane. You clearly manipulated her. A sick old woman. Your mother was of completely sound mind until the day she died." David interrupted sharply. "I have medical documentation to that effect if you'd like to contest the will. I don't recommend it. You'll lose, and you'll spend a fortune on legal fees trying." What about the house? Thomas spoke for the first time. At least Robert won't need that big place alone. We could sell it. Split the proceeds. The house belongs to Robert, David said. It's been in his name for 19 years. That's when Michael exploded. This is theft. He isolated her, convinced her to put everything in his name. And now we're left with pocket change while he gets to live in luxury? I think we're done here. I stood up slowly. David, thank you for your time. You're not going anywhere. Jennifer blocked my path. We deserve answers. We deserve what's rightfully ours. What's rightfully yours, I said quietly, is exactly what your mother chose to give you. If you have a problem with that, take it up with... I stopped. Couldn't take it up with Catherine anymore. Take it up with your conscience. I left them there, arguing with David about legal options they didn't have. That evening, I sat in the house, my house, and waited. Catherine had predicted this moment almost word for word. They'll be angry, she'd said 2 years ago, when we'd finalized everything. They've always seen you as my retirement plan who happened to be a person. When they find out the truth, they'll feel betrayed. Maybe we should tell them now, I'd suggested. Prepare them. No. She'd been firm. If you tell them now, everything changes. They'll wonder if every birthday gift was manipulation. Every conversation will have a $sign attached. I want them to know you as you are, not as what you have. And if they can't see your value without a bank statement, she'd trailed off. Sad, but certain. The first call came at 9 p.m. Michael, we need to talk about the living arrangements, he said. No preamble. Obviously, you can't stay in the house alone. It's too big, too expensive to maintain. Jennifer and Mark could use the space they're trying for a baby. We think it makes sense for you to find a small apartment somewhere. Maybe one of those senior living places. The house is mine, Michael. On paper, maybe. But morally? You lived off Mom for 20 years. The least you can do is... I hung up. The second call came at 9:30. Jennifer, Michael told me you were difficult about the house situation. I don't think you understand how this looks, Robert. You, with no job, no income we've ever seen, living in a $1 million property while Catherine's actual children get nothing. People will talk. Let them talk. We're not trying to be cruel. Her voice softened, calculated. We know this is hard for you. Losing Mom. Being alone. That's why we think it's better if you downsize now. Get ahead of things before you can't manage on your own. We've already looked at some nice assisted living facilities. I hung up again. The texts started after that. A group chat they created called Family Discussion that was anything but. Michael, we need to be realistic here. Robert has no retirement plan that we know of. No pension. He's going to need our help eventually. Better to deal with the house now than in 5 years when he's destitute. Jennifer, exactly. We're not being selfish. We're thinking long-term. Robert, please be reasonable. Thomas. Maybe we should all cool down and talk about this next week? Michael. No. He needs to understand the situation. Mom's gone. He doesn't have her protection anymore. This is about facing reality. He doesn't mind level. Things in percentage 1. I set the phone down and poured myself a scotch. Macallan, 25. $120 a pour at most bars. I'd bought the bottle for $42 in 1998 as an investment. Now it was worth around $3,000. I drank it slowly and waited for what I knew was coming. They showed up at 10 p.m. I opened it calmly. We need to settle this tonight. Michael pushed past me into the foyer. Jennifer and Thomas followed. You're being unreasonable, and frankly, cruel. My wife just died, I corrected quietly. And you're worried about real estate. Jennifer's voice cracked. What kind of person are you? Michael is right. You have no income, no savings that we've seen. You're going to bleed this house dry with property taxes and maintenance. Let us sell it. We'll split it fairly. You'll get enough for a comfortable retirement apartment, and we'll get what Mom would have wanted us to have. Your mother wanted you to have exactly what she left you. She was sick, Michael shouted. Her judgment was compromised. She didn't understand what she was doing. David already told you. David works for you. Michael's face was purple. You probably paid him off too. I'm calling a lawyer. We're contesting this whole thing. And in the meantime, you need to leave. I took a sip of my scotch. Leave? This house, Jennifer said firmly. Tonight. Pack a bag. Go to a hotel. We'll arrange movers for your things next week. But you need to leave now. We're changing the locks tomorrow. You can't change locks on a house you don't own. We're Catherine's children. Michael stepped closer, menacing. A leech who lived off her for 20 years and now thinks he's entitled to everything. Well, it's over. Pack your shit and get out before I call the cops for trespassing. Thomas looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. I set down my scotch glass carefully on the entry table. Catherine had bought that table at an estate sale. She'd loved finding treasures like that. Okay, I said simply. That stopped them. They'd expected a fight. Okay? Jennifer repeated suspiciously. I'll pack a bag. I'll be gone within the hour. Michael's eyes narrowed. Just like that? Just like that. You're right. This is too much house for one person. Too many memories. Maybe it's better this way. I walked upstairs to the master bedroom while they waited in the foyer, their victory tasting confusing in their mouths. I packed slowly, methodically. Basic clothes, toiletries, my laptop, Catherine's photo from our wedding day. When I came back downstairs, they were sitting in the living room like they already owned the place. I'll be in touch about getting the rest of my things, I said. Make it soon, Michael said. We're listing the house next month. I nodded and walked out to my Honda Civic. Drove to a hotel near the office park, where my property management company was headquartered. Checked in. Sat on the bed, in the dark. Then I made a phone call. David? It's Robert. Yeah, I'm fine. Listen, remember that backup plan we discussed? The one Catherine insisted we have in place just in case? It's time to execute it. Monday morning, Michael received an email from his apartment building's management company. Routine notice. Building had been sold to a new owner. Rent would be increasing to market rate, effective in 30 days. His subsidized two-bedroom in Palo Alto would jump from $2,800 to $4,500 a month. Jennifer received a similar email. Her three-bedroom townhouse in Mountain View, currently $2,300 a month, would increase to $4,200. Thomas's email came from a different property management company. But the message was the same. His small studio in San Jose, from $1,500 to $2,800. By Monday afternoon, my phone was exploding. Michael, did you see this? My rent is doubling. This is insane. Jennifer. Same here. What is happening? Is this legal? Thomas. Guys, I can't afford this. I'm barely making it now. Michael. It's the market. Everything's getting bought up by tech investors, greedy landlords. Jennifer. We need to move. Find somewhere cheaper. Michael. There is nowhere cheaper. Not in the Bay Area. Not unless we want 2-hour commutes. Nowhere 23. Not unless we want 2-hour commutes. Not in the Bay Area. Not unless we want 2-hour commutes. I didn't respond. I was busy at my property management office, looking at the real numbers for the first time in a decade. So let me understand this. My property manager, Sarah, said carefully, you want to raise all 3 units to market rate? You've been subsidizing them for 10 years? Catherine thought it was important they learn to stand on their own, I said. But she also didn't want them struggling. Now she's gone, and they've made it clear they don't need help from some guy she married. Sarah's eyes widened. Oh, these are your stepchildren? The ones who she stopped, professional discretion kicking in. Yes, and I think it's time they understood market forces. The calls started Tuesday. Robert, I need a favor. Michael, trying to sound casual. I know we had that disagreement about the house, but this is different. My rent just went crazy. I was wondering if you could loan me a couple thousand just until I figure something out. I thought you didn't need handouts. This isn't a handout, it's a loan. I'll pay you back. Come on. For Mom's sake. Your mother left you $50,000. Use that. That's for we were going to invest that. For the future. Sounds like the future is now. I hung up. Jennifer tried guilt. Robert. Please. Mark might lose his job. The startup he works for is struggling. If our rent doubles, we'll be homeless. Is that what you want? What Mom would have wanted. Your mother wanted you to be independent adults. We are independent. We just need temporary help. You lived in her house for free for 20 years. I paid for that house, Jennifer. What? The house you want to sell? I bought it. Cash. December 2004. Put it in your mother's name, because that's what she wanted. So I didn't live in her house for free. I lived in my house and let her feel secure about it. Silence on the line. You're lying, she whispered. Check the property records. They're public. She hung up. Wednesday, David called me. They contacted me. All three of them. They want to know about your financial situation. What did you tell them? Nothing. Because of attorney-client privilege. But they're asking the right questions now. Michael specifically wanted to know if you owned any real estate beyond the house. And I told them to hire their own lawyer if they wanted to research your assets. Robert, are you sure about this? This seems punitive. Catherine and I planned this exact scenario, I reminded him. She said if they ever saw me as just some guy she married, they needed to learn who they'd been dismissing. She said that? Her exact words. She loved them, David. But she wasn't blind to their flaws. Thursday morning, I received a visit at the hotel. Thomas. Alone. Can we talk? He asked quietly. I let him in. He looked terrible. Hadn't shaved. Eyes red. I looked up the property records. He said, for the house, you were telling Jennifer the truth. I nodded. And I called my landlord, asked who the new owner was. They wouldn't give me a name, but they gave me the company. Morrison Property Holdings. He pulled out his phone, showed me an article from 2008. Tech entrepreneur Robert Morrison sells cloud security startup to Oracle for estimated $80 million. That's you, Thomas said. Robert Morrison. That's you. Yes. The same Robert Morrison, who owns 12 commercial and residential properties in the Bay Area. According to this Business Journal article, from 2012. 13 now. I bought another building in 2019. Thomas sat down heavily. You've been rich this whole time. Yes. Mom knew? Your mother knew everything. It was her idea to keep it quiet. Why? I poured him a glass of water from the hotel minibar. She wanted you to know me as a person, not as a bank account. She thought, if you knew about the money, every interaction would be colored by it. Every birthday gift would be cheap. Because I could have spent more. Every conversation would be you wondering if I was judging how you spent your money. She wanted authentic relationships. We were authentic, all right, Thomas said bitterly. Authentically awful to you. You weren't awful. You were indifferent. Which, in its own way, was worse. The rent, he said slowly. My building, Michael's, Jennifer's. You own them? Yes. I've been subsidizing your rent for 10 years. Catherine suggested it. She said you were all struggling in the Bay Area market. And she wanted to help without you knowing it was help. And now you're raising it because on Friday night, your brother called me a leech. Your sister wanted me in assisted living. And you stood there and said nothing while they told me to pack my bags and leave my own house. Thomas flinched. I should have said something. I knew it was wrong. They're so forceful, and I'm the youngest. And I thought maybe they were right about you not being able to afford the house alone. Did you think about asking me? About my financial situation? About my plans? No, he admitted. We just assumed. You drove that old Honda. You wore the same clothes. You never talked about work. We thought you were. I don't know. Retired on some tiny pension. Maybe living off Mom. I retired at 47, I said, after selling a company I built in my garage. Your mother met me at a tech industry charity event. I was the keynote speaker. She said later that she fell in love with me because I talked about giving back, not about my net worth. Jesus. Thomas put his head in his hands. We really don't know you at all, do we? No, you don't. The rent increase. Is it because you want us to suffer? Some kind of revenge? No, I said honestly. It's market rate, Thomas. It's what everyone else in those buildings pays. I was the one distorting the market by subsidizing you. I'm just stopping that now. I can't afford it. None of us can. Then you'll have to make different choices. Move further out. Get roommates. Downsize. The same choices millions of Americans make every day. This is going to destroy us financially. No, it's going to make you uncomfortable. There's a difference. He stood up to leave, then stopped. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. About Friday night. About all of it. We treated you like you were invisible. Like you didn't matter. Like you were just furniture in Mom's life. I know. I don't suppose there's anything I can do to fix this? You could start by telling your siblings the truth. About who I actually am. What I actually own. Let them understand the full scope of what they said to me Friday night. He nodded slowly. They're going to lose their minds. Probably. After he left, I sat alone in the hotel room and felt nothing like victorious. Just tired. And sad. Catherine had predicted all of this. But she'd hoped it wouldn't happen. Maybe they'll surprise us, she'd said. Maybe when I'm gone, they'll step up. Show you kindness. They hadn't surprised us. The group chat exploded Friday afternoon. Apparently, Thomas had shared his research. Michael, you've been lying to us for 20 years? Jennifer, this is sick. Playing poor while you're worth millions? What kind of person does that? Thomas, he wasn't playing poor. He was just being quiet. Michael, shut up, Thomas. Robert, we need to meet. Now. We need to discuss a fair distribution of assets, considering you lied to our family for 2 decades. I didn't respond. Saturday morning, all 3 appeared at the hotel. The front desk called up. Tell them I'll meet them in the lobby in 10 minutes. When I came down, they were sitting in a cluster of armchairs. Michael stood immediately. We've been talking to a lawyer, he started. There's a case for. Sit down, Michael, I said quietly. All of you. Something in my voice made them sit. I want to tell you a story. I began. About a kid from nowhere. Bakersfield, California. Father was a mechanic. Mother was a grocery store clerk. I was good at math. Really good. Got a scholarship to Berkeley. Worked 3 jobs to cover what the scholarship didn't. Graduated with honors in computer science. I started my first company in 1995. Cloud security. Back before anyone knew cloud computing was going to be the future. Worked 100-hour weeks. Lived on ramen. Took meetings in my car because I couldn't afford office space. By 2003, we had 40 employees and contracts with major tech firms. In 2008, Oracle bought us for $80 million. I could have retired then. I was 44 years old. But I didn't. I took half that money and started investing in real estate. Bay Area properties I believed would appreciate. I was right. My net worth now is approximately $75 million, depending on the current market. Jennifer made a small sound. Michael's face was unreadable. I met your mother in 2002, at a charity gala, I continued. She was there with friends. I was there because my PR team said it was good for my image. She didn't know who I was. Didn't recognize my name. We talked for 3 hours about art, about her work at the library, about travel. She asked what I did, and I said I worked in tech. She said, "Oh, like everyone else here," and changed the subject. That's what I fell in love with. She didn't care what I did or what I had. She cared about ideas, about laughter, about whether I'd read the same obscure poetry she loved. When I told her I'd sold my company, she congratulated me and then asked if I was okay because she knew startups were like babies to their founders and letting go must be hard. She was the first person who saw me as just Robert, not Robert Morrison, tech founder. Not Robert Morrison, millionaire. Just Robert. When we got married, I wanted to tell you all. About my background. About the money. She said you were young adults, figuring out your lives, and you didn't need to see me through a filter of dollar signs. She said, let them know you first. If they love you for you, the rest won't matter. If they can't love you without knowing your worth, then we'll know that too. Thomas had tears on his face. For 20 years, I've been in your lives, I went on. I came to your graduations, your weddings, your birthday parties. I offered advice when asked. I listened to your problems. I celebrated your successes. And you know what I was to you? I was Mom's husband. I was the guy in the background. The one you'd nod to politely and then ignore. When your mother got sick, did any of you ask how I was doing? Did any of you think about the fact that I was losing my wife? No. You planned the funeral around your schedules and told me what day to show up. And when she died, when the will was read, and you realized you weren't getting the windfall you expected, your first thought wasn't grief. It was anger. Anger. At me. The leech. The parasite. The old man who had manipulated your poor, sick mother. Friday night, you came to my house, that I bought with my money, and you told me to pack my bags. You told me to get out. Michael, you literally called me a leech and threatened to call the police on me for trespassing in my own home. Michael's jaw clenched. So yes, I'm raising your rent to market rate. Not as punishment, as a reset. You want nothing to do with some guy Mom married? Fine. Then we're not family. We're landlord and tenant. And tenants pay market rate. You want to sue me? Go ahead. You'll lose. Everything is documented, legal, and ironclad. You want to trash me publicly? Do it. I don't care what strangers think. The people who matter already know who I am. What you don't get to do is treat me like I'm worthless and then expect me to subsidize your lives. You don't get to kick me out of my own house and then ask me for loans. You made your choice about what I am to you. Now live with it. The silence was absolute. Finally, Jennifer spoke, her voice small. What do you want from us? Nothing. I said honestly. I wanted a family. I had that with your mother. Now, she's gone. And I realize I never had it with you. You can't give me what you don't feel, and I can't force you to see value in me you genuinely don't see. So, we're done. I'll be a distant figure at future family events if you have any. We'll exchange polite hellos. And that will be enough. Wait, Thomas stood up. That's it? You're just giving up on us? I'm not giving up on you, Thomas. I'm accepting reality. You're adults. You've made your position clear. I'm respecting it. But we didn't know. Exactly. I cut him off. You didn't know. You didn't ask. You didn't care to know. That's the point. You should have valued me regardless of my bank balance. The fact that you didn't tells me everything I need to know about where we stand. I stood to leave. Robert. Michael's voice stopped me. I'd never heard him sound uncertain before. What if we wanted to change? To do better? Michael, then you'd better figure out why you want to change, I said. If it's because you know I'm rich now and you want access to that, save your energy. But if it's because you genuinely realize you misjudged me, that you treated a human being poorly regardless of his net worth, then maybe there's something to talk about. Someday. Not today. I walked out of the hotel lobby and into the California sunshine. Over the next month, I moved back into my house. Catherine's house. Our house. I hired a service to pack up the clothes she'd left behind, donating most to charity. I kept her favorite sweater. The one that smelled like her lavender perfume. Michael and Jennifer didn't contact me. According to Sarah, at the property management company, they'd both given notice on their apartments. Moving further out. Longer commutes. I felt nothing about that. Thomas, though. Thomas kept trying. He sent an email first. Long, rambling, full of apologies and realizations. I didn't respond. Then a letter. Handwritten. I've been thinking about all the times you were there, and I didn't see it. Your quiet advice that I didn't recognize as wisdom because I didn't think you had any worth sharing. I'm ashamed. Not because you're rich, though, that's still hard to process, but because I was so blind to your humanity. I didn't respond to that either. 3 weeks after our hotel meeting, he showed up at the house. I almost didn't answer the door. 5 minutes, he said when I opened it. Just give me 5 minutes. I let him in. I moved, he said. Found a place in Fremont. 45-minute commute now, instead of 15. 2 roommates. My room is half the size of my old studio. And you know what? I'm okay with it. Better than okay. Because for the first time in my adult life, I'm not living in a bubble I didn't earn. I said nothing. I quit my job too, he continued. The startup I was at. They wanted me to relocate to Austin, and I always said no because I couldn't afford to move. But the truth is, I was comfortable. Subsidized rent. Close to my favorite places. Close to Michael and Jennifer. I was stuck but didn't know it because stuck was easy. I took the Austin job. I leave in 2 weeks. And I wanted to tell you in person because... He paused. Because you deserve to know that someone heard you. Someone understood. I can't speak for Michael or Jennifer. But I heard you. Why did you quit your job? I asked. You didn't have to do that. To prove anything to me. I didn't do it to prove anything to you. I did it because you were right. I've been making comfortable choices instead of brave ones. I've been living small when I had the education and opportunities to live big. Mom saw that in me. She mentioned it once, carefully, said she worried I was playing it safe because that's what Michael and Jennifer did, and I was following their lead instead of finding my own path. I remembered Catherine saying that. Remembered her concern for Thomas specifically. What's the job? I asked. Lead developer for a renewable energy startup. 70% of what I make now, but equity stake and a chance to actually build something that matters. Sounds good. It's terrifying, he admitted. I've never lived outside California. I don't know anyone in Austin, but I think that's the point. I need to figure out who I am when I'm not just Michael and Jennifer's younger brother. When I'm not living in the shadow of assumptions about what my life should look like. We talked for an hour. Really talked. About his hopes for the new job. About his regrets. Regarding Catherine. About how he'd realized, too late, that I'd been at every one of his college theater performances, while Michael and Jennifer had missed most of them. You came to all of them? He seemed genuinely surprised. All of them. You were good. Your Hamlet was particularly strong. I didn't think anyone noticed. I noticed. When he left, he hugged me. Awkwardly, but genuine. I'm going to do better, he said. I can't undo the past 20 years, but I can change the next 20, if you'll let me try. Austin's a long way from here, I pointed out. They have phones in Texas, and planes. I'll stay in touch. If you want me to, I'd like that. After he left, I sat in Catherine's reading chair, the one she'd curl up in with a book and a cup of tea, and cried for the first time since she died. Not for the family I'd lost, for the family I might, possibly, still have a chance at. Not all of them. Maybe not even most of them. But Thomas. Thomas heard me. That night, I drafted an email to Sarah at Property Management regarding Unit 347 inches, the San Jose building. Thomas Morrison's former residence. Keep his deposit. Refund. And add an extra $2,000 to it. Mark it as early termination bonus from ownership. Don't tell him it's from me specifically. Let him think it's just good property management practice. She replied, This is very kind, Mr. Morrison. For what it's worth, I hope things work out with your stepson. Me too, I wrote back. 2 months later, I got a text from Thomas. A photo of him in front of the Texas State Capitol, grinning, looking younger than I'd seen him in years. Made it to Austin. Starting tomorrow. Scared and excited and grateful. I texted back. Proud of you. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. That means a lot. More than you know. I'll call this weekend? I'd like that. Michael and Jennifer never reached out. According to mutual acquaintances, Catherine's friends who stayed in touch, they were bitter, telling anyone who'd listen that I'd manipulated their mother, hidden my wealth, and now was punishing them for seeing through my act. I didn't correct the narrative. The people who mattered knew the truth. I started volunteering at the library where Catherine had worked. Twice a week, I'd help with their tech literacy program, teaching seniors how to use computers. Many of them reminded me of how Michael and Jennifer saw me: old, obsolete, dependent. I saw in their eyes the same surprise Thomas had shown when they learned I'd founded a tech company. "You don't look like a tech person," one woman said to me. "What does a tech person look like?" I asked. She considered this. "Younger, hipper, not wearing Dockers." I laughed. "These are very comfortable Dockers." Life settled into a new rhythm, quieter than before, lonelier in some ways, but honest. I started writing Catherine had always said I should. Stories about the early days of Silicon Valley, about building something from nothing, about the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Thomas called every Sunday. Sometimes we talked for 5 minutes, sometimes for an hour. He told me about his team in Austin, about the girl he was seeing, about the small apartment he'd rented that had a view of the hill country. "You should visit," he said one Sunday. "I know it's not much compared to what you're used to, but I'd love to visit," I interrupted. "Really? Really?" So I went to Austin for a long weekend. Met Thomas's girlfriend, Rebecca, who was sharp and funny and didn't take his nonsense. Saw his small apartment that he'd furnished himself on his new salary. Had dinner at a food truck park where he insisted on paying, even though I could tell it stretched his budget. "I've got it." I reached for the check. "No," he said firmly. "I asked you here. You're my guest. I'm paying." I let him. On my last day there, we hiked one of the trails outside the city. Thomas was quiet for a while, then said, "I told Rebecca everything. About you. About the money. About how we treated you." "What did she say?" "She said my family sounds like assholes, and she's not wrong." He paused. "But she also said everyone deserves a chance to grow. That people at 25 aren't who they are at 35. And I'm hoping that's true because I'm trying to be better than who I was." "You are better," I said honestly. "You're here. You're trying. That's more than most people do." We reached the summit and looked out over the sprawling view of Austin below. All that growth, all that potential. "Do you think Mom would be proud of me?" Thomas asked quietly. "For moving? For trying something new?" "I think your mother would be incredibly proud of you. Not because of the job or the move, because you're finally asking yourself what you want instead of what you should want. That's what she always hoped for you." "I miss her," he said. "Me too." On the flight back to California, I thought about Catherine's plan. Her hope that her children would see me for who I was, not what I had. Michael and Jennifer had failed that test spectacularly. But Thomas was trying, and maybe that was enough. Maybe that was more than enough. When I got home, there was a letter waiting. Physical mail, envelope addressed in shaky handwriting. Michael's handwriting. I almost threw it away unopened. Instead, I made tea Catherine's favorite, Earl Grey, and sat down to read it. "Robert, I don't expect you to forgive me. I'm not even sure I'm writing this to ask for forgiveness. Maybe I'm just writing it because I need to say these things out loud, even if only on paper. I was wrong. About everything. About you. About what you owed us. About what we were entitled to. I've spent the last 3 months angry, and then I spent the last week really thinking about why I was angry. I think I was angry because seeing you as rich means admitting I saw you as worthless when I thought you were poor. And that makes me a terrible person. It's easier to be mad at you for lying than to face the fact that I'm the kind of person who measures human value in dollar signs. Jennifer and I moved to Sacramento. Cheaper cost of living. Longer commute for both of us, but we're managing. Her marriage is struggling. Turns out a lot of what she and Mark fought about was money, and it's worse now, not better. I don't think they'll make it. I've been in therapy. My therapist asked me to write down memories of you from the past 20 years. Times you showed up. Times you helped. Times you were just present. The list was longer than I expected. You were at my wedding when my own father wasn't. You helped me move twice. You came to my birthday dinners, even though I barely spoke to you. I don't know what I'm asking for with this letter. I don't expect you to lower our rent, or give us money, or welcome me back with open arms. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see you now, and I'm ashamed it took losing everything to open my eyes. If Thomas calls you, tell him I'm asking about him. We had a fight after he moved. He called me a coward for not reaching out to you. He's right. I am a coward. Maybe someday I won't be. Michael. I read the letter 3 times. It wasn't enough. It wasn't close to enough. But it was something. I didn't reply. 3 weeks later, another letter. Jennifer, this time. Robert. Mark left me. He said, I've become bitter and obsessed with money, and he can't watch me turn into my worst self. He's right. I've been thinking about Mom a lot. About how she was always so calm about finances. About how she never seemed worried even though I thought she was living on a teacher's retirement pension. Now I know why. She had you. She had stability. She had love. And I threw all of that away because I thought I deserved a bigger inheritance. I look at the jewelry she left me, the pieces I complained about because they weren't expensive enough, and I see her wearing them. I remember her saying once that the value of jewelry isn't in the price tag, but in the memories attached. I didn't understand that then. I'm trying to understand it now. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. For all of it. Jennifer. I put both letters in a drawer. Didn't respond to either. A month passed. Then another. Thomas kept calling every Sunday. Told me about a promotion. About meeting Rebecca's family. About thinking he might propose. Would you come to the wedding? He asked. Of course. Even though Michael and Jennifer would be there? They're your siblings. Of course they'll be there. It might be awkward. Weddings often are. I'll manage. Another pause. Rebecca wants to meet you properly. Like, come, visit for a weekend. Would that be okay? More than okay. They came 2 weeks later. Rebecca was exactly as Thomas had described. No nonsense. Intelligent. Kind. Over dinner, she asked me directly. Thomas told me about what happened after his mom died. About the money and the house. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you hide it? The wealth? For 20 years? I thought about how to answer that. I didn't hide it. I just didn't advertise it. There's a difference. If someone had asked, I would have told them. But no one asked. And my wife thought it was important that her children relate to me as a person before relating to me as a bank account. But didn't that make things harder? Didn't you want them to know? Sometimes, I admitted. When they'd make assumptions about my life, my capabilities, when they'd suggest I couldn't understand their financial stress because they thought I'd never worked a real job. If they'd known from the beginning, every interaction would have been colored by it. This way, I got to see who they really were, what they really valued. And that was painful, Rebecca said. It wasn't a question. Yes, Thomas feels terrible about it. All of it. Thomas is doing the work to be better. That's all anyone can ask. She smiled. He said you'd say something like that. Later, after they'd left, Thomas texted me. Rebecca really likes you. Said you're not what she expected. What did she expect? She won't say. But I think she expected you to be bitter, to be angry, to be less kind. I'm not bitter, I texted back. I'm just tired. Of what? Of waiting for people to see me. 3 dots appeared. Then, I see you. For what it's worth. I see you. I know. That's why I answered the door when you came back. Thomas proposed 6 months later. Called me from Austin, breathless and happy, to tell me she'd said yes. They were planning a small wedding. Just family and close friends. Would I be okay with Michael and Jennifer being there? It's your wedding, Thomas. Invite whoever you want. I want you to walk Rebecca down the aisle. That stopped me. What about her father? He died when she was young. She doesn't have anyone. And your family. Robert. You're the closest thing I have to a father who actually showed up. So if you're willing, I was willing. The wedding was in Austin. Small, like Thomas promised. Maybe 60 people. I saw Michael and Jennifer across the venue. Michael nodded at me, uncertain. Jennifer looked away. I walked Rebecca down the aisle, gave her away to Thomas, watched them say vows that were hopeful and honest and real. At the reception, Michael approached me carefully. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I wasn't sure you would. Thomas asked me to be here. Still, it's generous." He paused. "I wrote you a letter. A few months ago. I got it. You didn't respond." "No, I understand. I wanted you to know. I meant it. Every word. I've been trying to be better, going to therapy, reading about entitlement and privilege and all the ways I've been blind. It doesn't undo anything, but I'm trying." I looked at him carefully. He looked older, tired. "I got Jennifer's letter too," I said. "She told me. She's struggling. The divorce, the move, all of it. But she's trying too. We both are. Good. Is that?" He struggled for words. "Is that all you have to say? Good? What do you want me to say, Michael? I don't know. That you forgive us? That we can start over?" "That I don't forgive you," I said simply. "Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I'm not standing in your way either. You want to be better? Be better. You want to rebuild your life? Rebuild it. You don't need my permission or my forgiveness to do that. But do we?" He stopped. "Do we have a chance? With you? Ever?" I looked across the room at Thomas, laughing with Rebecca, looking happy and young and free. "Thomas showed up," I said. "He kept showing up, even when I didn't respond. Even when I made it clear I was done. He showed up because he meant it. If you mean it, Michael, you'll show up too. Not for a reward, not for forgiveness, just because it's the right thing to do. And if we do, then maybe, someday, we'll have something resembling a family again. Or maybe we won't. But at least you'll know you tried." Michael nodded slowly, walked away. Jennifer didn't approach me at all that night, just watched from a distance. 6 months later, I got an email from Michael. Subject line, "No response needed." The body of the email was simple. Started volunteering at a financial literacy nonprofit, teaching people from low-income backgrounds about investing and wealth management. Made me think about all the assumptions I made about people based on appearances, about how I am, was the exact kind of person I'm trying to help people avoid becoming. Thought you'd want to know. Or maybe you don't. Either way, I'm doing it. I didn't respond. But I did look up the nonprofit. It was legitimate. Good work. A year after the wedding, Thomas and Rebecca had a daughter. Named her Catherine. "We want you to be her grandfather," Thomas said. "Not legally. I held my granddaughter, my step-granddaughter, technically, but mine nonetheless, and felt something unlock in my chest. This tiny person who would never know the Catherine she was named after, but who would know me, who would see me clearly from the beginning. "I'm willing," I said. Michael sent a gift, a handmade baby blanket with a note. "Congratulations to you all. I'm working on being someone Catherine can be proud to know someday. Uncle Michael." Jennifer sent a card. Just signed Jennifer. No message. 2 years passed. Catherine grew from baby to toddler. I flew to Austin once a month to visit. Read her stories. Taught her to count. She called me Poppy, because that's what Thomas taught her. Michael kept sending occasional updates. His work with the nonprofit, his therapy progress, his new apartment. Never demanding a response. Jennifer's updates were less frequent. A card on my birthday. A brief email at Christmas. Small attempts at connection that didn't push for more than I was willing to give. Then, on the 3rd anniversary of Catherine's death, they both showed up at her grave. I'd gone early, alone, to lay flowers. When I came back at sunset for a quiet moment, Michael and Jennifer were there. "We didn't know you'd be here," Michael said quickly. "We can leave." "It's a cemetery," I said. "Public space. We stood in awkward silence. Then Jennifer spoke. "I've been sober for 8 months," she said abruptly. "Realized after Mark left that I was drinking too much, using it to avoid feeling everything I'd messed up. I'm working on it." "That's good," I said. "Michael's been helping me, checking in, making sure I go to meetings." "He's been," she struggled. "He's been a better brother in the last year than in the previous 30. I had a good example," Michael said quietly. "Someone who showed up consistently, even when no one noticed, even when no one cared." We stood together in the fading light, 3 people connected by a woman who'd loved us all and hoped we could love each other. "She knew," I said finally. "Catherine. She knew exactly what would happen when she died. She knew you'd be angry about the will. She knew you'd lash out, and she chose to structure things this way anyway." "Why?" Jennifer asked. "If she knew it would cause so much pain?" "Because she believed in consequences. She believed people needed to face the truth about themselves before they could change. And she hoped that you were capable of change." "Was she right?" Michael asked. I looked at them. Really looked at them. Michael, who'd spent 3 years trying to become someone better. Jennifer, fighting her own demons. Both of them here, at their mother's grave, reaching out one more time. "I don't know yet," I said honestly. "But the fact that you're still trying counts for something." Jennifer started to cry. Quiet tears she didn't try to hide. "I miss her," she said. "I miss her so much. And I hate that I wasted so many years not seeing what she was trying to teach me. About you. About values. About what matters." "She knew you'd get there eventually," I said. "Maybe not in time for her to see it, but eventually. Do you think—" Michael stopped. "Do you think there's a world where we could be family again? Not like before, but something new?" I thought about that. About Thomas in Austin, with his family. About the letters and emails and small attempts at connection. About the long, slow work of rebuilding trust. "Maybe," I said. "Not today. Maybe not for a long time. But maybe." It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. But it was possibility. And as I stood there between Catherine's children, at the grave of the woman who'd believed we all could be better than our worst moments, I thought maybe possibility was enough. For now, it was enough.